they talk about revaluing it to 20,000. I go, what does that mean? The market set the price at 3. Are you saying you're willing to buy gold at $20,000 or $30,000? If you owe China $1 trillion and you say, look, I'm going to pay off the debt with our gold, which we price at 30,000, is China going to accept that? No. And so that seems silly to me. And so I can't, all these ideas, and I go, they're not going to give up the gold. It's just a lot of hooey.
Gold prices have surged to record highs in recent years, driven by geopolitical instability, rising inflation, and growing demand from central banks seeking to diversify away from the US dollar. As global uncertainty persists, gold's status as a safe haven asset has only strengthened. However, the precious metal may be on the verge of its most significant shift in over 50 years, with reports suggesting that former President Donald Trump is considering revaluating the United States' vast gold reserves, totaling approximately 810 tons. Unlike most countries that mark their gold holdings to market value, the U.S. has maintained an outdated official valuation of $42.22 per ounce since 1973. This figure was set just 2 years after President Richard Nixon formally ended the gold standard. In contrast, today's market price for gold stands at well over $2,000 per ounce, highlighting a stark discrepancy between the official and real-world valuations. Recent comments from U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent have fueled speculation about a potential shift in policy. Earlier this month, Bessent revealed that the administration aims to monetize the asset side of the U.S. balance sheet, a statement that has led many to believe gold revaluation could be on the table. If the government were to reprice its gold reserves to reflect market value officially, it could significantly increase the total value of U.S. gold holdings, potentially providing a way to address a portion of the country's staggering $36 trillion national debt. Cornell professor and market commentator Dave Collum dismisses concerns about gold revaluation as misguided. He questions the logic of arbitrarily setting gold's price at $3,000 per ounce, arguing that it offers little practical benefit. The idea of revaluing gold to $20,000 or $30,000 per ounce, he says, is pure fantasy. If the U.S. attempts to use this inflated valuation to settle debts, would creditor nations like China accept it? Collum doubts it, calling the notion a lot of hooey.
If you're worried about some digestive process, it'll take 6 months. I don't care. It gets back to don't show me a chart that goes back to 2022 or back to 2020 or back to whatever. Show me all the way back. So gold right now has gone up a lot, but it certainly hasn't gone parabolic, and it certainly hasn't gone hyperbolic. It's getting pressed, but you don't have, I don't think retail investors are jumping into gold yet in a serious way. There's a lot of cockeyed ideas out there in the gold market that maybe they're not cockeyed, but I don't understand them. So I'm going to put them in the cockeyed category until I can de-cockeyedify them. One of which is this idea that they're going to revalue gold. And I don't even understand what that means. I don't. And so they say, well, okay, so you got Fort Knox. You got 3 big gold depositories in the United States. And so you revalue the gold to $3,000 an ounce. Okay, so now you have, let's assume there's 8,100 tons. And this whole idea of sending in a camera crew into Fort Knox, what a stupid idea. It's like Al Capone's vault with Geraldo. There's going to be gold there. To audit Fort Knox will require very careful analysis. So let's pretend that the 8,100 tons of gold that we claim we have is real. And that comes out to something like, I don't know, $800 billion. But first of all, it's not that much compared to our debt of 38 trillion. It's not even a lot of money compared to our deficit, which is somewhere like heading for 2 trillion. By the way, if Trump's really achieved something, and it's not just headlines, we should see the curvature in the deficit. By the end of 2025, we should see a deficit that has somehow responded to all these discoveries. And if we don't see it, then it means they're just, you know what it means? When some company signs a 10-year contract to sell something to some other company, that's what the Trump administration is doing. They're finding inefficiencies of the government and they're booking all their savings that year. And that doesn't work. I want them to book the savings when they actually stop the flow, save the money. So the gold market, so I don't understand revaluing the gold, because you say, okay, let's call it then 3,000. So now we have 700, $800 billion worth of gold. What does that get me? And you start getting silly answers like, better use as collateral. And I go, we had 8,100 tons of gold, and a fourth grader could calculate that it's worth 800 billion, even though we're not pricing it that. We've got 8,100 tons. So why don't we just put a price tag on Yosemite National Park at 2 trillion, and then use that as backing. And when they want to use gold backed, you name it, I go, so would they be willing to give up the gold? So like a gold backed treasury. If someone has a treasury, can they turn it in for gold? And they'll always say, oh, well, no. Will they give you the gold? Really? You sure about that? And then I also like to point out 50-year treasury. And do you get the gold anytime you want, or do you get it at the end of 50 years? No. Or do you not get it? Again, these are questions no one seems to answer. Let's say you're going to get it at the end of 50 years. I'll promise you anything in 50 years. I'll promise you the state of New York. I don't care. It doesn't matter. It's 50 years from now.
Yeah, I got a bridge to sell you in San Francisco.
That's right. I'll tell you what, I'll sell you plots of land on the moon. And so that seems to, and then they talk about revaluing it to 20,000. I go, what does that mean? The market set the price at 3. Are you saying you're willing to buy gold at $20,000 or $30,000?
No.
You owe China $1 trillion, and you say, look, I'm going to pay off the debt with our gold, which we price at 30,000. Is China going to accept that? And so I can't, all these ideas, and I go, they're not going to give up the gold. It's just a lot of hooey. I, by the way, one of the few who doesn't seem to like Howard Lutnick. I feel like I'm getting molested when he talks. So the gold market is very interesting, but there's some, I think, very poorly thought out ideas flying around the internet, which I'm told occasionally has mistakes on it. And for which people don't seem to be able to give me a coherent answer. They're not able to give me an answer that I say, oh, okay, now I understand.
Gold surged to an all-time high above $3,000 earlier this month, and analysts expect the rally to continue. Goldman Sachs recently projected that gold could climb as high as $3,300 in 2025. The investment bank attributes this bullish outlook to rising central bank demand and a potential surge in gold ETF purchases, as lower interest rates make gold a more appealing investment. Additionally, ongoing uncertainties, from trade tariffs and geopolitical tensions to concerns over soaring government debt, could drive more speculators to increase their long positions in gold. Could revaluing gold be a solution to reducing the U.S. national debt, or is it just wishful thinking? We value your thoughts, so feel free to share them in the comments. If you found this content valuable, please give it a thumbs up and remember to subscribe to stay informed. Thank you for being part of this journey with us.